What's up, guys? Welcome to Movie Battleground. We have a new match for you today. My name is Nazario Montenegro. I'm the first time host, second time judge. I hope I don't make much big of a mess. But we have a bunch of new people around that are starting to pop up. So let's introduce everybody. Co-hosting here with me is Sean Sicario Sandberg. How are you, sir?
I'm doing extremely well, man. Thanks for asking. Doug has definitely, made himself known throughout the different leagues, and I judged Madeeh's last match, so I know that he knows his shit. He knows how to actually conduct himself in a debate format. So yeah, I'm really looking forward
Honoring
to this
to
match.
hear that.
That's good stuff. And not good night, but good morning to our third judge, Miss Andrea. I think this is your first time here. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you for asking. I'm really excited to find out what these guys are capable of, and I can't wait to start judging.
Welcome to the league. Hope you have enough fun to stick around. And now, on to our players. Mr. Madeeh, you have played here before. How confident are you against our buddy here, Douglas, with his big mouth?
As big as his mouth is, I'm sure mine is bigger. Andrew, I did not know this was your first time. This is going to be a lot of fun for you. Holy shit. But yeah,
No,
no,
right?
I'm excited. This is going to be a lot of fun, to say the least.
And Mr. Douglas, who make a, let's call it a splash intro in the trivia leagues with his general message. How are you feeling, good sir?
I'm feeling pretty phenomenal. Tonight's gonna be an interesting one. Tossing myself in with about 24 hours. We got this. You know what? The Irishman's got it, and that's all I gotta say. Congratulations for having me in the league.
Well, I always say you don't really need that much prep time if you love what you're arguing for. Sometimes you have to argue for some things you may not like as much, so we'll see what happens tonight. So, jumping right in it, the main round consists of three questions where each player gets a minute of opening statement before going at each other for 5 minutes. Then both will get 1 minute to close. Each player has a one-time only option to get a 1 minute extension during the argument section, so they have to ask for it. If you both ask for it in the same question, it extends 2 minutes. So, are you ready? Let's do this.
Oh
Let's
yeah.
The
do it.
first question, and we're gonna
Do it.
start with Madeeh. What is the best Jared Leto performance? The minute starts running when you start talking, sir.
All right, so I think the best Jared Leto performance is his performance from Requiem for a Dream. It was one of his earlier movies, and I think that what he did in that movie, especially with like the kind of the way that they framed the movie and how they shot it, really just pushed the character forward in a way that I don't think he's done better, or hopefully he can do better in future performances. But I think it's his best performance to date, personally.
And saving some time. Good stuff. Short and sweet, to the point. Mr.
Just
Douglas,
wait till we
sir.
get into it.
Mr. Douglas, sir. What is Jared Leto's best performance?
All right, so we want to go best performance, then why not go the performance that got him that gold, that Oscar? You kidding me? All right, granted, I'll give you a fact. Requiem for a Dream is a decently good performance, although he gets outshined. But in Dallas Buyers Club, he definitely strive, and he's one of the strongest forces as a supporting actor can be. So I went with Requiem for a Dream. Not Requiem for a Dream.
He agrees. I win.
I did not agree. I got confused. There's a difference.
Okay.
No, but is that a minute? Am I out of
Don't
time?
interrupt other players during the opening statement, please.
All right.
You get an extra. You're gonna get an extra 10 seconds.
No,
for that.
I'm cool.
Just go.
That's
10
fine.
seconds for now.
I yield the rest of my time. I wasn't sure if I had a minute or not, so I yield the rest of my
Okay.
time. It's fine.
Then we have
My
Requiem
bad.
for a Dream versus Dallas Buyers Club. 5 minutes starts right now.
I don't know what you were talking about when you say he gets outshined. I think the other performance in Requiem for a Dream were good as well. I think if that's what you're talking about. But I think he definitely gets outshined in Dallas Buyers Club with Matthew McConaughey's performance. Matthew
I,
McConaughey was
however,
the
don't think
star
he
of
gets
that show.
outshine. No, because the fact is that Matthew McConaughey's performance is enhanced. It is not outshining him. He needs Jared Leto. Where in the case of being outshined, Marlon Wayans had a better performance in the entire movie than Jared
No,
Leto
the
did.
fuck he
Hands
did
down.
not. Marlon
Are you
Wayans was
kidding me?
not better than Jared Leto.
The only performance that gives him the maybe a little bit of outshine on Marlon Williams is when he gets his arm cut off. Other than that, he's on
Keep going on the
almost
movie.
same level.
Spoiler alert, by the way, for anyone who hasn't seen it.
Listen,
Jared Leto
spoiler,
in
sorry,
Dallas Buyers
guys.
Club. Yeah, fuck it. If you haven't seen it by now, it's too late for you.
It's a little too late. It's
been a while. Listen, Jared Leto in Dallas Buyers Club was good, and he did get an Oscar for it. So I'll give him credit where credit is due. But I don't think you can count the Oscars as like the definition of like, oh, that was his best performance. Let's be real. Leo didn't get his Oscar for his best performance in The Revenant. I don't think he was the best performance of that year either. The Oscars aren't really a great way of telling you who was the best or what was their best. Otherwise,
no,
Martin Scorsese.
I get that. I get that. I 100% get what you're trying to go with. And the reason that you aim for an Oscar is the prestige of it all.
Yeah, the prestige.
What we're talking about
having prestige is not the same as being the best.
Okay, I'll give you that. But here's what we're really looking at. How much of a performance is his addiction? It's a there, but he faced those demons in real life already. He was a drug addict in real life.
No, and that's fine. Art comes from real life, man. I'm not really expecting him to fully go transgender in Dallas Buyers Club. That would, in my opinion, be a bit too much to ask of an actor.
Well, no,
but
he wasn't.
I don't think that makes it a better performance.
The person wasn't.
Sorry, I'm not too sure.
The person was just the person.
Yeah, sorry, my mistake. I don't mean to offend anybody. I'm not going to get into that one, but whatever.
No. It's not offending anybody. Trust me, I know transgender people in my life. It's just a common misconception.
All right, we're getting into different stuff. The point is, I don't think that him acting that way makes it a better performance than him acting as a drug addict. I think that his performance in Requiem for a Dream is almost better because of how much influence or how much of an influence drugs had on his life in previous times.
I get that, but at the same time, when you're talking
and having
about
more knowledge into it and being able to be that character, it was much easier for him, and he pulled it off much better in Requiem for a Dream than he did in Dallas Buyers Club. Dallas Buyers Club I did like as a movie, but I don't see it as his best performance. I just think, and granted, they're both great performances, but it's not his best. Like, I would 100% say that Requiem for a Dream was better because of how he worked with the rest of the cast as well.
Okay, so we're going with the rest of the cast and how it actually technically is a triple cast in Requiem for a Dream. They each bounce off each other, and it's great. But again, I still am telling you, if you don't have the strongest performance in the movie, how is that the best performance in your career? In Dallas,
it doesn't. I don't think that he has to have the best performance in the movie to have it as the best performance in his career. There's tons of actors who probably had great performances but weren't the best in the movie.
I mean,
like
yes and no, but you still have to be able to be a striving force in that movie.
And he 100% is. He's one of the best parts of that movie.
You could have taken Jared Leto out of that film, and it would have been the same. Dallas Buyers Club, you can't take Jared Leto out of that film. He transformed.
The character was more important. Yes, the character was more important, but I don't think the actors got anything.
Any other actor, I can name 5 actors off the top of my head that were in the same predicament as Jared Leto that could bring that to life, bring that character to life.
All right, every actor in Hollywood who's on drugs could probably bring something to life to it, but Jared Leto brought his own taste in it, which I love. Going back on that, there's a bunch of actors who could have had that kind of, who are not getting as much visibility in what Jared Leto portrayed. Sorry, can we clarify what was the technical term for what he was a cross dresser or?
He's I forget what they fully call him in the film.
There's lots of actors in Hollywood, I guarantee, that have not gotten a chance that are in real life fulfilling that role. To say, I don't know.
I understand that, but here's I fight back on that statement all the time. I fight back on that statement all the
And
time.
I think
The
that
fact
they
is
could have
that
done just as
that
well of a job because
person-
they experience it in daily life as well. So if you're going that way,
They
then I
did
think
and
they could have
didn't.
done a better job.
They didn't and didn't because they didn't face it in the
And
height
time.
of AIDS.
Time.
That's
I
probably the
think
most civilized match I've ever had.
Yeah, we
Two-
do it.
two
We
things,
do it.
guys.
Go
Two quick things, guys. Try not to talk so much over each other. If someone is trying to make a point, yeah, you can intercede, but try not to like keep messing it up because then a lot of points get lost in the audio.
I got you.
And
My bad. I think it was
strategy.
me a lot of time.
second, try to focus on the issue at hand. I think a lot of time was
Yeah, we got distracted.
just discussing a different point. Remember, you're trying to sell the judges, okay? So now for
Right.
closing, one quick minute. Tell us why your pick is better. We started with Madeeh, so now we're gonna start with Douglas for the closing. Okay, 1 minute starts when you start speaking.
Okay, so closing this up, the reason that I feel Jared Leto is a better performance in Dallas Buyers Club is for one reason. You cannot take him out of that movie. He empowers Matthew McConaughey. I can't say his name properly. Matthew McConaughey's performance to another level. You didn't see this before because you had somebody battling with him on the same level, which is what made Jared Leto's performance even better because it was so realistic. It was so there in the height of the scariest time in our country. Yes, addiction is horrible, and that is true as well with our country right now. But Jared Leto's performance got outshined by Marlon Wayans, 100%. That car scene alone, when he's flipping out, it's taken there. It's taken to a degree. You had to have a scene where Jared Leto was getting his arm cut off to make him really impactful. I yield the rest of my time.
Okay, now Madeeh, please be aware of the time too. 1 minute when you start speaking.
1 minute. All right, I can do this. Keep it to 1 minute. I agree with a lot of the points that he made, but for Requiem for a Dream, I think that in Requiem for a Dream, he's amplified and amplifies the performances of the people around him, whether it's Ellen Bernstein, whether it's Marlon Wayans. As you said, that it was a great performance by Marlon Wayans. And Jennifer Connelly. I think that the cast, they all boosted each other up to a point that a lot of them haven't been at before. I also think that in Dallas Buyers Club, it was basically just him and Matthew McConaughey who did it, but Matthew McConaughey definitely stole the show. So you saying that he wasn't the best performance in my movie, I would argue that he wasn't the best performance in your movie. So I don't really think that's a solid point that you can make when Matthew McConaughey did the role of a lifetime for himself in that movie. Granted, Jared Leto is great in both of these movies, but I think that what he does in Requiem for a Dream is much more inspired. And just because he got his arm cut off at the end was not the point for him. I think that his entire run through the movie is just showing the degradation of what can happen to a mind of a drug dealer. His relationship with his mother specifically is something that I always look at as something that is inspiring to me as a
Time. Okay. Well, now let's see what the judges got from that argument. I'm gonna start with our newest judge, Miss Andrea. What? Who gets your point and why?
Who, me?
Yes.
Okay. When it comes to when you both said that they amplify others' performances, that only goes to show how good of an actor he is, because you need to like bounce off each. When you act, you have to bounce off each other. So that's a good point to make. But I think Douglas, when you said that he got outshined by Wayans, I think that's a ding for you. So I'm gonna have to give this one to Madeeh because we're
I'll
talking
take it.
about the best performance.
Okay. We got one for Madeeh. Mr. Sandberg, what did you get from the debate?
Okay, so these were very similar approaches to the debate. Talked about how he amplified and bettered the people around him. one place where I think Madeeh was a little bit stronger was I found that his ability to counter the points Doug was making were a lot better. And on top of that, the way he called him out on the appeal to authority fallacy when he said the Oscars don't winning an Oscar does not necessarily mean it is your best performance overall. I think that him pointing that out and having a bunch of other really fantastic points about, and plus hearing about how he drew from real life and brought that into the performance, I thought that was a really strong argument, and I just didn't have enough on Dallas Buyers Club in terms of the argument to really like sell me on it. So for me, I got to go with Madeeh as well.
So round 1 goes to Mr. Madeeh. Round 2, the second question we got is, what movie would you wipe out from existence? Since last time Madeeh went first, let's go with Douglas first. You have 1 minute for opening segment as soon as you start speaking.
I'm excited for this.
I'm going to go with the movie that almost ruined DC, Green Lantern. And if anybody argues that that is not the most trash movie ever, I guess we're going to see where it goes. Green Lantern not only set back Green Lantern from being made, it is officially off the books now. The Green Lantern Corps got wiped off because they were afraid, because Deadpool made so much money, they were afraid to bring back the Green Lantern. So if I could wipe out any movie, it'd be that. So I can get my goddamn Hal Jordan how he's supposed to be. And I yield the rest of my time.
Short and sweet. Mr. Madeeh, same question. What movie will you wipe out from existence?
All right, so my choice is the Transformers movie. Now, the reason I chose this was because I asked a lot of questions when this question came out because I was very much interested in this question. I wipe out the Transformers movie because of what it entails. We no longer have any of the other Transformers movies that have come out, which have all been hot, steaming piles of garbage. All of that money can now go to better movies that they made, as well as I really, really just want them to do it right once. Just once. But they've had, I don't know how many, like 13 tries at making a Transformers movie right, and they've gotten it close to right, maybe once or twice. I don't know. Either way, I chose the Transformers movie just to get all of that hot bag of trash out of my mind. That's it.
Okay.
I'm going to wait.
Green Lantern versus the Transformer. This should be a good one. Okay,
fun.
guys. Andrea, are you ready with the timer? 5 minutes. Start now.
Okay.
First
so
of all,
here's the
Green
thing.
Lantern versus
Here's the thing.
Transformers would be a great movie.
It would be a great movie. It absolutely would. Could you imagine Optimus Prime with the power of Will Ring? That'd be amazing.
That would be amazing. Okay, that would be a better movie than either one of these. Both of these franchises are absolute
here's the
shit,
thing.
and it's
I
awful.
completely understand your logic. Wipe out the one good Transformers movie to save the rest of the universe. I get that. But here's the thing. Green Lantern destroyed the ability to make Green Lantern for the next 10 years. It destroyed it. There's no ability to bring that back. I love Ryan Reynolds, but should he have been Hal Jordan? No. Should Blake Lively been in that movie at all with her staleness? No. Should you have gotten a dweeb, a guy who is actually a good actor, to play this character that brings in fear, that brings it in? Come on. All right, give me this at least. Transformers introduced the world to Megan Fox. Granted, now she's a little bit of she's starting to come back. But in the beginning, that was every teen boy's fantasy. Listen, all right, you got Shia LaBeouf, who was before he went crazy and became a really talented actor. So you got Goofy Shia. I just, in all honesty, if you wipe out the Transformers, you don't get some of the technological advances that franchise gave us.
Okay, I gotta make a few points here. Number one, Ryan Reynolds, I'm pretty sure, met Blake Lively on the set of Green Lantern, and I really like them as a couple, and I don't want to fuck that up. So, no, we're not deleting Green Lantern from existence because I like them together. Number 2, I'm okay with Megan Fox not being around. Like, she hasn't really done much other than that one shot of her over a car hood, which I spent a lot of lonely nights with. But I don't really think she's done anything else. Shia LaBeouf, I'd much rather see in like movies that he's acting in. He's a really good actor, but he went nuts because of how much fame he got and how much all that shit he went through. Hang on, you talk for the first 2 minutes.
All right, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I don't want to see any more nonsensical Transformers movies. Like the last one I watched, because I couldn't bring myself to watch the one with Anthony Hopkins in it because it was too much pain. Like, I felt like I had been whipped so often that I just couldn't go through anymore. It was pushing me to my limits. They ruined so much in those movies. Mark Wahlberg was a cool actor, and then he did the most stupid thing, and Michael Bay keeps trying to make pedophilia okay in the Transformers movies, and I don't like it. Just get rid of them all. Michael Bay can do nothing for the last 10 years, and I'd be perfectly happy.
But here's
Shia LaBeouf could do good movies. Everyone would be happy. No one would have to deal with this bullshit.
Shia LaBeouf would have never got his chance to do the good movies that he did if he didn't do Transformers, because he had.
That's not entirely true. I think he got pretty big because of him
to give us that character on Fury.
No, his Nymphomania character was really good, and I think he showed sparks of. People had him on the edge of their list for a while before Transformers came out. Like, they just kind of put him in there, and that was the start. So. But I think that a lot of people had him on their list because his performances before were his movies. But he was going to be the next guy. Like, a lot of people had him up there.
I don't think he was. I think it was Michael Bay taking a shot on a kid who literally was in a TV show. He saw him in a TV show. It was a great TV show. I'll give you that. But we're talking about Transformers, and why the fact is that if you don't get those movies, you don't get some of the technological advances that were brought into cinema.
I'm okay with that because of how technically stupid those movies are sometimes.
If you take out Green
Lantern, another thing, all you do is remove one thing. I want to point this out as well.
Transformers, really bad film, and give the ability to give us an actual good Green Lantern film.
You know how much money Transformers movies have made over the last 12 years since they came out?
Yeah,
literally all of it. The fucking billion.
No.
Dollars continue. Marvel's made all of it, all right? But the rest is going to Transformers and Star Wars.
No, but here's the thing.
These Transformers movies are not made, that money goes to different movies that are better, hopefully. All right?
It doesn't.
It's hard to be worse. Those movies that the movie production studios will put it to a different movie.
Office. It was such a
Green Lantern made no effect on history other than they didn't make another Green Lantern movie for a long time. That's not really impacting history. I'm trying to save the universe here while you're just getting rid of one movie. Ryan Reynolds and Deadpool make fun of Deadpool.
Guys. Okay. You guys got 1 minute closing with a nice little bow on top. Why is your movie better? That's something else. You're focusing way too much on the other person's movie. Try to sell us on why your choice is the best choice. So, first, Madeeh, 1 minute when you start speaking.
Transformers have ruined my life. I came home one day innocent and happy, and my mother said, "Oh, let's watch a movie together as a family." And she chose one of the Transformers movies. My dad and I sat through that movie with my brothers and sister, and I don't think I've ever had a bigger headache in my life. My dad hasn't talked to me since. That's not true. But the point is, these movies are so awful, and I don't think that anyone would be upset with them just never existing. Green Lantern has some positives in the fact that he makes fun of them in Deadpool, and they're hilarious jokes when he makes fun of them. I think the one of him shooting himself in the head at the end of Deadpool 2 when he's reading Green Lantern script is one of the funniest things I've ever seen him do. But you don't get that if Green Lantern is gone. Green Lantern is not a great movie, but I think the Transformers series overall and how big it is much worse when you compare it. Green Lantern has brought on a lot of good things as well, like Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively together is one of the funniest things on Instagram. And I think that he's able to joke about it well enough that he can kind of get away with the fact that he had that movie. Transformers is different. No one jokes about it because they still make those movies, and it's so hard for you not to be associated with the new ones that come out. Like Shia LaBeouf can't say anything about the Bumblebee movie coming out because the movies are still coming out and they're making a decent amount of like a crap ton amount of money. So he can't say anything. If you get rid of those movies, it frees Shia LaBeouf to do better movies, and Michael Bay can focus on Bad Boys 3.
Okay, Mr. Douglas, 1 minute. You start speaking.
All right, so why my movie is the worst movie and should be erased from existence is because of the fact that not only did you ruin the ability to bring these characters into any other movie, you can't bring Sinestro into another movie, can't bring Kilowog into another movie. Hal Jordan, forget about it. We have to bring in a totally different, which I'm totally cool with. I'll take Kyle Renner in any day. But here's the thing. If that movie never existed and we got the chance to bring an actual, if they waited a year or two and seen what the Marvel Cinematic Universe was doing, seeing if they took notes from Christopher Nolan, if they took notes from the 2007 Justice League that was coming out, we would have gotten a completely different Justice League. They made a ridiculous mess. The story made no sense.
Time. That's it, guys. Okay. I'm going
It
this
doesn't
time.
count. You should have said Jon Stewart, man. Come on.
Kyle Renner is definitely such a good one. Guy Gardner.
Okay, guys. I'm going to the judges now. Last time I went to Andrea first, so this time I'm going to Sean. Short and sweet, Sean. Who gets your point and why?
Okay, Doug gets my point because he directly addressed the ramifications of Green Lantern being a bad film and the effects that it actually had on creating an entire universe. I heard, though I'm not going to lie, the whole Transformers ruined my life, and my dad hasn't spoken to me since. If you watch it back, I was actually like laughing. So it came that close, man. It was great. But yeah, my point goes to Doug.
Okay, and now Miss Andrea, what did you like and why?
Okay, first off, I'd like to say sorry to Madeeh that Transformers ruined your childhood, and that your dad won't speak to you. Okay, but based on the facts, I really liked Douglas's point about the movie destroying the ability to get another Green Lantern movie to be made. I think that you should have addressed that in your argument. So I'm giving my point to Douglas.
So Douglas gets round 2. I also actually would have gone with Douglas for similar reasons. I tried to mention it a little bit when I before the closing arguments. You guys are tending to make one point and then keep hitting that point or trying to tell me why the other person's choice is worse. You have to come up with more points to sell. The more you sell, the more ammo you give us to pick you. So
my life being ruined wasn't enough.
The jokes are funny, and the personal stories always give you passion for it. But you gotta sell, guys. Okay, so round 1 and round 2 goes to Douglas. That makes it 1-1, and we're going now to round 3. Back to Madeeh. The question for you, sir: what is the best character from the film Pulp Fiction? You have 1 minute to open.
Sorry, I'm still recovering from the last round. Jesus Christ. That was fun. Okay. The question about Pulp Fiction, right. So for this round, I chose for the most interesting character, I chose the character of Jules, played by Samuel L. Jackson. Reason I chose him was because I thought that in terms of not only just character arc, but also what he does in the movie and who he shows himself to be was much more interesting to me than anyone else in that movie. But I think we'll get more into that. I love both of these characters, and I'm sure my opponent will agree that this movie is great and that both characters are phenomenal as well. But it's like, for this one, it was like, this one was the clear choice for me, and then everyone else was kind of secondary. And that's it. Like I'll go. I'm gonna mute so I can.
Can you
Okay.
actually repeat the question for me, please?
Yes. Mr. Douglas, same question to you. What is the best character from the movie Pulp Fiction?
Okay, so for me, the best character is one that goes by the name of Butch. The reason this character is the best character, it's the only character that ends up with a happy story. It's the only character that ends up on top in the entire movie. Are you kidding me? He saves Wallace from saves Wallace and doesn't talk about the necessary raping that goes on. He destroys the guy with a samurai sword, and he walks away with $250,000. The guy wins. He wins for not throwing a fight and forgetting his watch, having his girlfriend forget his watch. That's why he wins, because he destroys Vincent. This makes him have one of the best story arcs in the movie. I yield my time.
Okay, guys. Samuel L. Jackson versus Bruce Willis. So, 5 minutes when you start speaking.
I disagree that he was the only one with a happy ending. I think that Samuel L. Jackson's character retiring from the whole like hitman mob situation and him finding Jesus in a way was definitely a happy ending for him, depending on how you see it. Yeah, Bruce Willis definitely made out with a lot more money and with a girlfriend, but I don't think that that makes him the better character. It's definitely one of Bruce Willis's best performances in his career. But that's not saying much.
So here's my counter argument. Yes, he makes out with a buttload of money, but he also you see this character go from I don't want to lose a fight. I don't want to do it. I have pride. And he's able to make that pride just go even further. And it helps him. He then switches character and decides to save a person who he runs down. He saves him, but he didn't have to. For Jules,
of course,
his entire character gets shaken after that murder. His entire character.
No, of course.
And
like the whole he shoots the guy in the face, and then there's that whole situation. And I think that being a turning point for him was like amazing. I thought that was one of the most inspired choices in that movie, that they do that many shots and he looks at it and says, this is my moment where I start believing in God, or whatever the hell that it was that he ended up starting to believe. Like he saw this as like his reason to get out. I thought that was like one of the most like interesting and like most powerful moments in the movie, where he's just like, that's it, I'm done. And then right after that, for them to go to the restaurant and have that whole situation with I don't remember their real names, but Honey Bunny and like in the restaurant with the whole standoff thing. I thought that in like everything that he did in that movie is, I think, well remembered for a reason. Like, and I'm not gonna try and generalize, but I think he's the most remembered part of that movie, because everyone when they think Pulp Fiction, they think
I beg to differ. He has one of the most memorable quotes. I do give you that. He has one of the most memorable quotes, but one of the most memorable characters is Bruce Willis, because the fact is that what he does.
And I disagree with that.
He's such a presence without saying any words. That character has the least amount of words to say in the entire script. And it's just performance. It's just raw performance. And
I feel like Bruce Willis saying more would have ruined that performance. That's the point. Like, Bruce Willis is not the best actor necessarily. I agree with you.
It would have ruined that performance.
I don't think that you can say that Bruce Willis is the most memorable part of the movie, though. Like, when you ask someone on the street about Pulp Fiction, they're like, oh yeah, the Samuel L. Jackson movie. And it's not just that he had the memorable line.
It was definitely known as
so
a Quentin
Tarantino.
Hold on. First of all, it's known as the Quentin Tarantino movie.
It's known as Quentin Tarantino. But if you ask them like which character you remember, if you ask them which character they remember, they're like, oh, the one with the wallet with the badass motherfucker on it. Like they're gonna
Samuel
like
Jackson. Everybody knows that Sam Jackson.
You know that Samuel L. Jackson, and you're going to remember Samuel L. Jackson for that movie.
You're going to remember him.
It was also the one that started his career. Like, it was like so big at the time, and he was the biggest part of it.
I don't think so, because here's the thing: Vincent's right there with him, and Vincent has
Vincent's
some of
right
the
there
most
with him, and
funny lines. Vincent
he has
one
some of the
most
funniest
funny
lines, but he's definitely not the one that people remember the most. Like Vincent,
I think it
for
comes down to
like he has the
remembering.
dance scene,
You have
and then
two
other than
scenes.
that, it's like the injection scene of like into Uma Thurman's
I
chest.
think
But
I
like
think you have
really,
3 scenes that you remember keenly in the movie. Sam Jackson's quote scene, John
where he's
Travolta,
the Ezekiel scene.
Uma Thurman scene where they're dancing $5 milkshake.
1 minute.
And then a third scene, and that's at Bruce Willis cutting down a person with a samurai sword.
See, and I disagree.
Where
The one
do
that comes
you
to mind
see
if
that?
I was going to go top 3, I would go. My top 3 would be the Ezekiel scene where he's in the apartment building with Vincent, and you're right, the dancing scene is up there. And then the last one would be him in the cafe. Like those are the 3 scenes that I would be my top 3 that I remember.
I
think that Bruce Willis cutting down is like my 5th because I remember shoving ass or watch up my ass as like more than I do remember Bruce Willis in that movie. And don't get me wrong, I love Bruce Willis in the movie, but I just think that Sam Jackson was better.
I disagree because
so does Sam Jackson. Both of them make it out.
Sam Jackson is completely changed by the end of that movie. Completely changed.
Which
Bruce
is
Willis,
a good thing if we're
is
thinking
riding
realistically.
on a
He's a
highway
hitman beforehand.
with $500,000 because he rode down somebody. They got caught by cops. And then he killed a bunch of people.
That's not the part that makes him the best
movies
part,
are about
though. The
killing
best part,
people.
I think, that Sam Jackson comes into this movie as a
Time.
nobody and then takes over is the
Time.
best.
Time. Please disregard best. What's that after the end of time? So
Just the one word. That's all we're disregarding.
Just disregard best.
Just disregard the ending of his sentence.
And the period. Okay.
Oh, and thank you for being gracious.
So it's not a complete sentence.
It's not a complete. There, great.
We're going with closing argument, guys. So, since Madeeh went first this time, I'm gonna go with Douglas. 1 minute, sir. Nice and pretty. Make it a little bow on top. Why is Butch the best character?
Okay, plain and simple, when you go to a Quentin Tarantino movie, the one thing you're expecting to see is killing. The most killing, unfortunately, that his character does is none. Yes, he's memorable, but is he the best character? No. The reason is because you remember the slaughter that happens in the bathroom with Vincent, in the pawn shop. You remember him saving Wallace's life and then saying, well, if you don't explain that I got raped, you can go free. I'll call off the hit on your life. He bets on himself after throwing a fight, or before throwing a fight. There's so many points that make him such a just badass character. And he barely speaks. You don't have to remember any lines that he says because you just remember the shit that he does. He does amazing. Oh my God. Just the scene when him entering and the gimp, what they do to that gimp.
We will not know what they do to that kid. Please, Madeeh, you have 1 minute once you start speaking.
I love the word gimp. Okay, so I think that you're kind of putting Bruce Willis as like, oh, he was badass in the movie. Betting on yourself in boxing is illegal, first of all. And the second thing, I don't think that him having this, he bet on himself and then he saved the guy who put a hit on him, makes him a better character than a guy who was very much unknown, comes into this movie and steals the show and now becomes the #1 like paid actor in Hollywood history, or whatever Sam Jackson's title is. I think that Sam Jackson brought something to this role that no one else could have. I think that he brought gravitas in his eyes on him because you knew that he was smart to be the one in charge. He was going to be the one that's leading the next generation. You saw the movie originally. This wasn't really when you that movie on the street. They remember Sam Jackson.
Time.
The whole situation.
And time.
That's a short minute.
Guys. Yeah, it's Pimsa, all right. This was actually a lot cleaner, guys. Thank you for taking the pointers.
We
You
tried.
can
We
tell.
tried.
Okay, I'm gonna go with myself first in this
A
time.
bit.
Uh, I think you guys actually acknowledge the fact that you for a moment there stopped arguing what the best character was and started arguing what the most memorable character was. And the funny thing is, you both agree that one of the more memorable scenes is a John Travolta scene. Yet no one of you guys pick him. It's just weird. So,
Yeah, because
with what you actually
Travolta
said,
went that route.
about what you actually said, I think Madeeh actually had a lot of good defense for the arguments that Douglas was shooting. He speak about how Butch was the only one who won, and then he knocked him down because Julius also won because he got out of the life. And about the best character, Madeeh explained how he goes through the bigger transformation during the movie and actually changes, and his character grows. The fact that Bruce Willis got away with and he's still a criminal doesn't make him the best. So, based on that, I would go with Madeeh with my poll. Let's go now to Mr. Sean Sandberg.
Okay, just a quick fact check. Uh, Honey Bunny and Pumpkin were the two people in the restaurant, and Amanda Plummer's character was the only one that actually was named, and her name was Yolanda. Tim Roth's character was never said. This was a tricky one because I feel like you hit on Madeeh. I feel like you hit on what makes Jules a really great character in terms of the fact, like you did say, he does actually have a happy ending in terms of his retirement and figuring out, like, you know, that he had this spiritual awakening, and you see it in the following scenes. In, you know, at least we're going chronologically, in the restaurant. The problem I did have with your argument, though, was that you started talking about the performance more and less about the character itself. And if we're talking about the written character, I feel as though I kind of heard more from Doug on Butch's prideful actions, how he saves Marcellus Wallace, whether he does that out of self-interest or doing the right thing is really up to debate. But yeah, I think with that, I think I'm gonna have to give my vote to Doug on this one, even though I love Jules Winfield, and I'm really glad you went to me, by the way, Nazaria, just because I'm resident Tarantino junkie on this stream, 100%. So.
Okay, so pretty close again. Well, I think this is the first split, actually. I think it had been like 3 votes on the same person the first round. So,
Yep.
Mrs. Andrea, you are our tiebreaker. What do you got for us?
So the pressure is put on me now to decide.
Yep.
And this
Welcome
is
to movie
kinda
Battleground.
scary. Okay. So am I supposed to go now?
Yes, give us your pick and why.
Okay, this is actually the closest fight I've ever experienced when even before my college days. So this really came down to um, I really like the fact that when Douglas said that Butch really didn't have that much lines, but because of his raw performances during the movie, I think I'd have to go with Douglas on this one because I Jules really more I'm sorry, Madeeh really focused on more on about Jules's focus on about the end of the movie, not actually focusing on the uh, what made his character better than Butch's character. So I would have to go with Douglas in this one.
And that means Mr. Douglas gets round 3, and it's up
That
2-1.
was
Okay, so with 2-1, that means we make it to the speed round. The speed round consists of 2 questions. The first question of the speed round, player will get 30 seconds opening statement, followed by a 15-second rebuttal. The second speed round question Players will get 30 seconds for an opening, followed by two 20-second and 10-second rebuttals. The first player to get to 3 points wins the match. So that means that this is a must win for Madeeh because Douglas is up 2-1. Okay. So the speed round for round number 4. It's a pick between two choices. So the first one here, it's the first one that gets it. The other has to argue for the other choice. Who portrayed Dracula better, Gary Oldman or Luke
Gary
Evans?
Oldman.
Luke Evans.
I got Douglas with Gary Oldman. So, first pick, it's the first one to go. Andrea, 30 seconds, please.
Just clarify again, 30 seconds, then 10 seconds?
You get 30 seconds, then Madeeh gets 30, then 15 and 15.
Okay, cool. Sorry, I wasn't sure if it was 15 or 10. Thank you.
Ready with the timer.
Okay, 30 seconds as soon as you start speaking.
So why does Gary Oldman play the best Dracula? Well, simple. He is a character actor. It doesn't matter what character you throw him in. He will bring the performance of a lifetime to that character. The reason why he is the best Dracula is because it's the most faithful to the book. And it's the most faithful to the story. And it gives you this heart-wrenching character that just wants love. And Gary Oldman pushes that to make you want him to have her so bad. And he just wants it. And you see it in him and pushing it forward.
Disregard pushing it forward, please. So, Madeeh, why is Luke Evans a better Dracula than Gary Oldman? You have 30 seconds.
Gary Oldman is a character actor, but let's be real. He does ham it up quite a bit in a lot of his movies, and Dracula is not exempt from that. He does definitely ham it up in that. I also think that Luke Evans is much more reserved, and being close to the book doesn't necessarily mean it's a good thing. I wasn't cheering for Gary Oldman to get the girl, by the way. I don't know what kind of psychopathic shit you're on, but that's not something I was imagining. I think Luke Evans being much more reserved and kind of close to what the movie wanted him to be as like this force of nature that you see and you get scared of was much more prevalent in Luke Evans' version than it was in Gary Oldman.
End time. Okay, Douglas, 15-second rebuttal starts as soon as you start speaking.
The problem with Luke Evans is the fact that he is too reserved. Vlad the Impaler was not a reserved character. He did nothing but spike people on the head. And that's who he was based off of. It wasn't based off the traditional character of Dracula. And when you're talking about Dracula, you're talking about the character that Gary Oldman played.
Time. Oh, nice timing. Okay, Madeeh, 15 seconds and close it up.
Luke Evans being much more reserved is much more in line with Dracula. Dracula is not this exaggerant, like exuberant force. He's a quiet, reserved vampire who's slowly and secretly seducing you. It's not like a whole, like, oh, I'm going to impale you on the head. No, he does that on the side, and that's something else that's interesting about him. But it's not his main thing. His main thing is that he is reserved.
Time. Okay, short and sweet. Let's go to Andrea first. Who gets your vote and why?
Okay. When in this, it was a close one again. But I think I'm gonna have to go with Gary Oldman, or in this case, it's Douglas's argument, because when Gary Oldman really in that role really had an impact on the other Draculas that followed after him. So I'm gonna have to go with Douglas on this one.
Okay, I'm gonna go next. Yes, it may be true that he influenced some characters, but that's not a point that was brought up during the discussion. During the discussion, I actually believe that Madeeh played more close to yes, and yes, he started selling me on why Luke Evans was a better choice for the character in the confines of the movie he was making. And my point goes to Madeeh. So, Mr. Sandberg, you are the decider for round 4.
I'm also giving my point to Madeeh. I feel as though he hit on why Gary Oldman didn't work, actually. I thought that the point that he made about him being too hammy was a really, really good one. I didn't feel like Douglas hit back enough on why Luke Evans didn't work. It's just kind of an interesting thing in debate. Sometimes when you pick the harder sell, you only need to sell on one specific thing. And Madeeh capitalized on that completely. He gets my point.
And that gives the round 4 to Madeeh. And now we're tied and going to the
I've
final.
seen neither of those movies.
Okay, last question, guys. This one's for all the marbles. 30 seconds, then 20-second rebuttal, then a 10-second rebuttal, okay?
Okay.
Same.
Okay, so 3. Okay.
30, 20, and 10. And just like last time, the first one picks, the first one that goes. So,
Is this a choice between 2? Or do we just pick whatever? Okay.
No, it's between two franchises.
Oh, okay, I see. All right.
Which of these 2 franchises is worse than the other? Men in Black or Kingsman?
Men in Black.
Men in Black for Madeeh and Kingsman for Douglas. Madeeh went first, so that's 30 seconds once you start speaking.
Saying which one of these 2 is worse is not really a diss on either of them because they're both decent franchises. But I think the Men in Black has kind of gone on the bottom end of it. Like, they don't have as much in any of their movies as the first Kingsman did. I think the first Kingsman really pushes a lot of boundaries, and I love the first Kingsman. The second one was not as great, but I still think that as a whole, the franchise was better than what Men in Black did mediocrely in number 1 and then in number 3 as well. Number 2 was just not great. So I think that overall, the Men in Black series is not as good as the Kingsman series, just based on those, like...
Mr. Douglas, your turn starts when you start speaking.
Sorry, repeat the question real quick because I just make sure I know what I'm trying to debate here. I'm sorry. I want to make sure that I'm doing it right.
Which of these franchise is worse than the other? Men in Black or Kingsman? You got Kingsman worse than Men in Black.
So Kingsman is worse than this franchise because the fact is that Men in Black made Will Smith a full-fledged household name. Kingsman has not done so yet for Taron Egerton. I think Rocket Man will do that. Why this movie franchise is worse? Yes, the first movie is great, but that follow-up was terrible. The second Men in Black at least has some good qualities about it. The second Kingsman, it's really hard to find really good qualities about that movie. That's why I feel that it's worse. You have to deal with going through.
Madeeh, 20 seconds.
I disagree, man. I thought Elton John was a brilliant part of that second movie, and I really enjoyed it. I thought the whole dynamic between Mark Strong's character and Taron Egerton as a duo, and then also Mark Strong meeting Halle Berry's character was really amazing as well for me. I mean, maybe I am biased and I like the Kingsman second movie more, but I still think that Men in Black just hasn't been on that level for me. Men in Black 1 was good, and then I think Men in Black 2 was just not great. And then Men in Black 3 people forget about for a reason because it wasn't that great either. It was fine, but it's not launching Will Smith's career when he was already in Independence Day and some other action movies.
Douglas, 20 seconds.
Okay, so here's the thing. Kingsman should have never been a franchise movie. It should have ended with the first. It was a perfect bookend. You ruined and tainted that series with a second movie. It's the same thing that would have happened if you did it to Wanted. With Men in Black, yes, the second movie is a little less than the first movie. But that third movie, when you see his father die, it kills me every time. He sees his father.
Final chance, guys. 10 seconds, Madeeh.
The first Kingsman movie has one of the greatest action sequences in my opinion history when it has Colin Firth killing everyone in that church to free Bird, and that entire scene alone is better than anything Men in Black has ever.
10 seconds. Wrap it up, Douglas.
We can agree that both of the first movies are great. Where it falls apart are the sequel series. Kingsman is subpar, below subpar to the first one. The second one is ridiculous.
And time. That was close, guys. Okay. Uh, I went first with Andrew last time, so I'm going with Sean this time. What do you got for us, Sean?
I heard more qualities than I did about Men in Black. On top of that, the argument that was made by Douglas was just too vague when it came to talking about the sequels in the Men in Black series, up until that final point where he talks about his dad dying. I heard more things about what made Kingsman 2 at least somewhat enjoyable than I did about any of the Men in Black. So I got to give the point to Madeeh.
Okay, Madeeh goes one up. And Miss Andrea, what do you got for us?
Okay. This is a close fight again because Douglas said that Ben and Black made Will Smith a household name, but Madeeh said that the Kingsman pushes boundaries. So this is gonna be a close one, but I'm gonna have to go with also with Madeeh on this one because of the fact that he was able to rebut what Douglas said about the Will Smith by adding that Mark Strong and Karen Edgerton are like almost almost a household name as well. So I'm gonna have to go with Madeeh on this one.
And your winner, completing the comeback, Mr. Madeeh, taking it 3-2.
Thank you. Thank you.
I
Hold your
felt
applause.
feeling down on this one, but I would have also gone with Madeeh. I actually felt for such a short period of time, his argument was a lot more complete and focused, and he brought up a lot more points of why his movie, The Kingsman, actually were still above the dive, and Men in Black wasn't. So, what are your thoughts, guys? How do you felt about the match?
Hey, for getting 24 hours, I think I did pretty good. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, I think Madeeh got frozen. Well,
But until
since
he
it's
gets
frozen,
unfrozen,
let's go to Doug then. What do you thought, Doug? This is I think it's the first time you play, right? How do
this
you
was my
feel like?
first match, and I really enjoyed the aspects. And I think if I get a little more time on some other aspects of this, I can get it down pat. Overall, he killed it. Do you know how hard it is to argue the fact that Men in Black is worse than Kingsman? I got stammered stumped. I was like, how do I do this? And it's really hard because I like parts of Kingsman. I really do. Like the second one, he's completely right. Elton John's fantastic. But the second, it's hard to argue that. And it's so, this was such a good match. I mean, I may have participated in it, but Jesus, man, we went back and forth. That was so good.
That was fun.
My favorite part was the Pulp Fiction, though. But Pulp Fiction was my favorite part.
I'm not gonna lie, that was my least favorite part. Losing to Bruce Willis again. Fuck.
Well, we got our winner back, Mr. Madeeh. What do you feel about the match and the win?
I'm feeling good, man. It's nice to get a win. Like it feels pretty intense, honestly. Like I might ride this high for the rest of my life. But I don't know. It was just, I think, like considering we only really had you for like 24 hours before this match started, you did a hell of a fight, man. Like honestly, one of my favorite ones. And I'm glad that this time I kept it a lot more civil than I usually do, which is probably a good thing. But it was definitely still fun, man. Fucking Bruce Willis. That's all I gotta say.
That's gonna be a hashtag now. Fucking Bruce Willis.
Bruce Willis. I'm gonna use that on every single post I make, whether it's your birthday and I'm posting on your wall, or if it's like, please donate to my GoFundMe. Fuck Bruce Willis.
Okay, guys, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go quickly to our judges, just for some wrap-up thoughts. Mr. Sandberg, what do you felt about this match?
I thought it was a really closely contested match. I want to say congratulations to both players. You guys both played a hell of a game. Congratulations to Madeeh. I know the last time I judged one of your matches, it didn't go your way, and I'm glad that it did this time. All right, man?
Thanks, bro. I appreciate it.
Mrs. Andrea, what do you feel about judging for the first time?
Okay, for judging the first time, this is one of the most stressful things I've ever experienced in my life.
You're welcome.
Seriously, because it was that close. Congratulations to the both of you. Congratulations to Madeeh for winning today's match. And yeah, it's been fun, guys. It's been fun. I want to do it again.
For my part, I would actually like to congratulate you both. You got the pointers that I kept mentioning, and you actually adapted, and actually became a really, really solid, fun match because you guys argue with passion, which is something that sometimes I feel lacks in this kind of leagues because people get too technical about stuff. It's good to have the facts on your side, but it's also good to be passionate about it. It helps you push forward and reach for that extra mile to win your arguments. So, for now, for Movie Battleground, saying goodbye from Madeeh, Douglas, Sean, Andrea, and myself, Nazario. Glad you guys
Hey,
were with
guys.
us. See you next week.